to full leg too. And it's a way to ensure that we're not going to miss any hair. The reason I started waxing like this was because I had a lady who had really, really light skin and almost translucent hair. Like it was white, really, really fine hair. And she was covered in freckles. Covered. So when you looked at her legs, it was really hard to see hair because your eyes focused on the freckles. But she would always notice it because she was a golfer. And she would sit in the golf cart, and when the sun was shining in, she would see her hair through the sunshine. She's like, I know there's hair there, Lori. I know that you can't see it, but I want you to wax it for me. And I thought, okay, how am I going to do that? The only way to ensure that you don't miss any hair is to completely cover the leg with wax all at once. So you know exactly where the wax has been because it's been everywhere. Okay, so we're going to take our client's leg. Now, Wendy has never had her legs waxed before.
Is that okay?
That's perfect. Okay. So I'm going to do a small test strip on Wendy, just so she knows what it feels like, because she's had it done on her eyebrows, but we don't want to completely cover her leg with wax and then try to remove it and have Wendy say, that hurts too much, I want you to stop. Because I did have a 14-year-old say that to me before. I don't want you to do it anymore. And I had already covered her whole leg. So it was a good lesson learned. And I went, well, honey, you're just going to have to stick through it because it's too late now.
So may I ask questions?
Sure.
I'm wondering what the optimal time in between waxing or growth time is. Does anybody know that? Like when Lori and I talked about this, it was about 3 weeks ago, a little less than 3 weeks ago, that she said, stop shaving. So this is about 2 weeks worth of growth. Yeah. But is there an optimal growth? Like is it about how long it is or time or about 2 weeks?
You guys want to answer or do you want me to answer?
Well, no, I'd like them to answer.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing it.
Okay, and then I will follow up with what I think you guys are missing.
Okay. If they are.
Okay.
So the question, I'll rephrase it, is about time. So is it you would say to a client in 2 weeks? Or would it be about the appearance and growth of, or what are the other factors?
I think it depends on how fast some people's hair grow and like what areas you're waxing. Some grow faster, some don't. So it depends. It could be 14 days or it could be 4 weeks.
Okay. Is there hair that can be too long to wax? Like what if I left it 2 months?
Typically not on your legs.
Okay, so on the legs.
If you're talking bikini line and you can have hair this long. In delicate areas, because the pubic area is very coarse hair, it can get too long and too thick.
Okay, but on legs?
On legs, I've never seen hair too long on legs.
Okay. Do men get their legs waxed?
I know people that have.
Yeah?
Yeah. They can, not very often. Their pain tolerance is less than ours.
Yes.
Like it's not just a
wimpy thing.
It's not just a wimpy thing because we like to tease them about it. It's a fact.
Oh.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to hair. Okay, so we've applied the antiseptic cleanser. I am going to do just a small little spot first. And I can tell that this wax is okay, but I'm still going to test it on my own wrist. And if you've turned your wax pot on and you have a metal spatula that has been sitting in there for quite a while, what do you have to be careful of, Jamie? Yeah, the spatula itself can get really hot. So, but that feels good.
So she's testing on her, so if it's too hot or not hot enough, she can hear it. Oh.
You can tell, once you're used to the wax, you can tell just by looking at the consistency, how hot it is. The thinner it is, the hotter it is, the thicker, the cooler. So I can tell just by looking at it. But what you can't tell is the temperature of the spatula. And it could be, even though the wax is fine, this could be very hot. Kind of just bend your knee up just a little out of the way. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do that little spot just so we can make sure that Wendy's okay with this. You okay?
Yes, I am. I thought, is it like having a baby?
I
Is it
sense
like,
hesitation.
Like, no, it's fine.
You okay?
Yeah. Let's see. You guys all waxed your legs before. You all know that sensation. A little.
That's part of the course. They have to know what it feels like.
I was just going to say that near the ankle.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would do, if you have a bed that you can't move like this one, you can put your wax pot right on your trolley, because the closer you are, the less you have to move, the more time you're going to save. Okay? And that's why it's quicker too, because we're not going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth so many times. We're going to take a whole bunch of wax, and I want everybody to be very, very careful that we don't get wax on our floor. Oh. Wipe the spatula off.
You start at the top?
Yeah. And with a good quality wax, which this one is, we can do this. With the other wax that we had, the green wax, it doesn't retain its temperature long enough. And you wouldn't want to do this because the wax would get too hard. It will cool down too quickly. We're not going to do the knee yet.
Oh.
We will, though.
You will? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh. I can hardly wait to go home and show off my hairless legs, because I have suffered a fair bit of symptoms over this growth pattern.
So I'm going to do as much of the leg as comfortable for Wendy as she can move around for me. And that way, when we flip Wendy over, there's just going to be a little strip down the back. Any questions? I have to take my gloves off. We know that Wendy doesn't have any
We need a couple of pieces.
broken skin. And I've sterilized, or I've cleaned her legs off with the antiseptic lotion.
So is it a personal preference that you take off your gloves? Do you need to feel it better? Or
For half leg, I prefer it because back in the day, when I was in school, we didn't have to wear gloves.
Right.
Like it just wasn't
It's a
required.
fairly new thing, isn't it, gloves?
I still do bikini underarm.
Yeah.
I do wear gloves, yeah. But for legs, I don't.
It's probably good to talk to your client when you're doing this, just to distract the person from, that kind of hurts. I'll try not to.
Usually, the backs of the legs are a little bit more sensitive. But everybody is different. Yeah. Me, the shin hurts, like right up the shin hurts the most, but everybody is different.
I wouldn't say it's hurt. It's like sting. It's like, oh wow, for a moment.
But it's so worth it. And usually the first time hurts the most, right?
Your menstrual cycle, it feels like someone's hitting you with elastic band over.
Oh, is it? You're more sensitive? Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you're a lot more sensitive.
Is that biological?
Uh-huh.
Oh, what's that about?
Just because all your hormones and stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're just more sensitive to everything.
Okay.
Whether it's TV commercials or, yeah, I saw something this morning that I just went, oh. I don't know, it just made me well up.
Probably wouldn't watch a sad movie during it.
But things just hurt more.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
So I started at the bottom, and I'm working around, and then I've moved up to the second section, and I'm working around this way. Now, why would I start at the bottom and work my way up? For strip, just think strip purposes.
So that it's not getting caught on the bottom. Like when you go to pull, you have enough pull
Right.
on the strip.
So when I start down here, I have this area that I can hang on to. So I'm going all the way around this way, and now I'm moving up to the second area.
do you know when that particular strip won't work anymore? Like it's just obviously gets kind
When
of
it
full?
starts getting too thick, then I'll toss it out. And because this wax up here is thick, I'm going to get a new strip. Oops, bend the knees right up.
It's very fast. Now, can I ask some more questions?
Mm-hmm.
When you're organizing your work day as a spa employee or an owner, do you book appointments for waxing, or do you fit them in between appointments that take an hour, or how do you manage waxing?
Both, either or. When a client calls, we take them whenever the client wants.
Okay.
You know, if they want to come at noon,
You fit them in. You
yeah,
just fit
and
them
if someone is having a facial done, you could book them at the end of the facial while the other person has their mask on.
Right.
And squeeze in a 10-minute eyebrow or a
Because you're trying to
20-minute.
maximize
Mhm.
your revenue, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to get as many services in as you can.
The more clients in the day that you see, the more money you're going to make.
Right. That's important.
Lovely. Why do I keep going like this?
To make sure there's no excess wax.
Very
Does that
good,
sound
Amanda.
weird?
No, very good. I am hearing funny. I'm having some sinus issues.
Oh, you blocked.
Last night it just started running. So I'm going to do Wendy's knee, and just be cautious that whatever you have wax above could potentially drip. So we're just going to be very careful.
When people wax, get their legs waxed, do they normally do knee and lower, or do people go all the way up? Like, we're not doing that today, but what's normal?
Depends what the client would like that day.
Oh, but, okay, so that's
You always
asked.
do the knee though.
Always do the knee, okay. But do the majority of people who get their legs waxed get the upper wax? Or,
I wouldn't say the majority. I would say majority just do lower.
Yeah.
What we're doing.
like, what would be exposed as opposed to upper?
I do my upper legs like once a summer.
Oh.
And then I never worry about it again.
If there seems to be so much less hair up here. That's just natural growth. What is that noise? Somebody.
I don't know. Is that somebody's cell phone? Amy. We had a big talk about cell phones the other day. Actually, about all rules. Here's bending it up again. Okay. Piece of cake. Done?
Wow.
Now we can ask our client, would you like that little bit?
Yes, please. I was just going to ask you normally just do the foot and sometimes the large toe.
I always ask.
Yeah. But people
First?
do, don't they? Like, don't people?
Usually, but I went to wax somebody's toe one time, and she said, oh no, I want that hair there. I didn't ask why. So.
Keeps her warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I automatically, when I'm shaving, make sure I do that. Yeah, I'll probably make the wax go hard immediately.
It does. If it's a cold area, you have to work pretty quick because it could crystallize.
Yeah. I would like everyone, though, to notice my toes because a group of faculty and I went to Glass and Pillar last night to get pedicures because I was getting a waxing today and I wanted to make sure that my toes look good for you all.
Let's go back to the very first question that Wendy asked. How long is ideal or optimal for the hair to be?
2 weeks.
Since when?
So after you're going to wax or shave.
Which one, waxed or shaved?
Shaved
Because
is
it's totally different. Shaved. What's the difference between waxing and shaving?
Waxing goes longer, and because the waxing just pulls the whole hair out. Shaving, you just cut it.
So if Wendy shaves, she has to leave her hair for at least 2 weeks. How long does she have to wait now until she can wax again?
6 weeks. I'm guessing. What is the right answer?
You guys should know this. Like that.
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Yeah.
4 to 6.
Because we're pulling out the whole hair, including the root system. So a whole new root system has to grow. This is my favorite demonstration. If this is your skin surface, this is your hair, okay? So after shaving, your hair is like this. This is your skin, and your hair is growing up. If we wax, we're taking out the whole hair, so all of the root system down here in the follicle has to grow up and reach the surface. But if you're shaving, you're cutting it off right here. So it only takes 2 weeks for both the hair to get up so it's long enough to be waxed if you're shaving. But if you're waxing, it has to grow up all this way. Okay? And why is it even better if you can leave it even longer than that?
They're all at the same stage.
Yeah? Yeah, and because hair grows at different rates, if you let it grow for the 2 weeks, your hair could be at this stage where it's long enough that you have hair and it's long enough to be waxed, so let's wax it. But if you leave it even longer, then you're going to get the ones that may just be right at the surface when you're waxing, because they all grow at different rates. So the longer you can let it grow, even though at this point, these guys are going to seem like really, really long. Probably you were getting to that point where it was really long. But then you can wax it all out all at once, and the hairs all restart at the same growth rate stage. Okay? So you guys can go, and we'll switch with the other